Hey folks, welcome back, and I have a feeling that this is going to be one of those gloriously terrible reviews because this guy has a lot of issues and a very, again, kind of finicky, challenging transformation. I sort of limped my way, as far as I'm concerned, through Rat Trap, and we're going to end up doing the same sort of thing here as we continue to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Beast Wars, a series that I was iffy on for a long time. I've gone back, I've watched the whole thing, and I enjoy it. I see the brilliance of it now. A lot of episodes, though, I see and I think, man, I think this would have been over kids' heads. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But it certainly does have a fan following. It brought a lot of people into the fandom, and for that, it should be respected. And this is a fantastic looking Rhinox, but that's not the whole story. I'm going to cover everything to do with this guy in the latest GotBot True Review. Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. Check out Machinery of Man, check out the Everything Factor, check me out everywhere. Have a look at some of the other playlists here on the channel, and we're going to get right into this guy. Paint apps. I understand that there are people who would argue that the camel brown on him should be more of a brown. But I feel like the kind of stone camel brown looks really good. Like, I've seen the brown, and I feel like, I don't know, I feel like that's not right either. Even though, when you look at the animation, yes it is. But this strikes me as more correct. Especially when he's in beast mode. It looks more like a natural sort of, rhino color, I suppose. Rhino? Is it a rhino? Yeah, rhino color, I suppose. I like it. I saw it and I looked this guy over and I passed him over 100 times, always saying to myself, I'm going to pick him up, but somebody else would come along that I wanted more. I'll pick him up, but somebody else would come along that I wanted more. And eventually, kind of after I figured we weren't going to get him on shelves anymore, a local retailer got a shipment in and I said, you know what, I'm going to grab him now. And I was excited when I grabbed him. I thought to myself, well, maybe he's not as, not as bad, not as fiddly and finicky as what I have heard and what I have seen. Oh yes, he is. But he looks glorious. I'm going to give his look, his paint apps, 9.5. 9.5 because I can see the argument for the better brown. But there's no mistaking that this is Rhinox. Come on, folks. We all know that it is. It's probably the best looking version that we've gotten of him. And in Rhino mode, he looks stellar. He looks like a pretty great rhinoceros, if you can get him there. Posability, playability. Well, in Rhino mode, he's a brick. Really, nothing really moves on him. The jaw, I guess, can sort of move, but not really anything. In this mode, the head can go left and right. It can look up a nice bit, down. The shoulders go way out. They can go all the way around. There is a bicep swivel. There's an elbow under 90 degrees because of animal bits. If you can get this skirt piece up, there is a waist swivel, but you do have to get that skirt piece up to take advantage of it, and you're not going to get all the way around because things bang into one another. The thighs, they can go way out. That's glorious. There's a thigh swivel, a little less than 90 degrees because of all the animal pieces, so not the deepest knee bend. The ankles have a little bit of tilt. I think that's really cool. Little bit of ankle tilt. Nothing at the wrists. But the hips man, the hips on this guy are loose. Real loose. It's difficult, I find, to get him to stand because of the loose hips. You could probably, you know, coat the hinges with the old floor polish fix, and that will probably help things a bit. But overall, yeah, those hinges, they're far too loose. I don't think I would have wanted them ratcheted per se, because I think that would have been just too much. Oh, and his leg can go well out and well back, but it kind of falls pretty easily because of those hip ratchets being loose. He comes with 2 Gatling guns, I suppose. You can store them in holes on the backs of his arms. You know, if you want to do that, you can do that. Naturally, they can come out of those holes and go into his hands. A lot of people like these Gatling guns. I thought they were so cool, and you press the button and it goes around. I don't like these. This is too weird. I don't really like it as a weapon, a blaster. I don't really know what it is. I don't dig it. See if he stands. It looks like he's gonna stand. Yeah, I mean, you take this and, you know, it's cool that I guess it you know, spins freely. I guess that's cool. Storage in beast mode for these is really weird. Really weird. And I guess I'll point this out. Also, there are little starts here and here, and little starts here and here. And these two, they go together. They press together like this. This will be used for storage. You take the handle and open it back. You take the handle and you open it back. This configuration is basically how it's going to end up storing in his beast mode. So we'll lay that aside for now. And we will try to get right into transformation of this guy. Actually, before transformation, man, it's amazing to me how much I forget this stuff. Here he is next to a modern day. This is the Titans Return Sentinel Prime. He's really become a friend of the channel in terms of doing these Voyager size comparisons with some older figures. Rhinox, of course, a little bit on the small side for a Voyager, but he certainly has heft and bulk to him. That's how they scale. I looked at Sentinel Prime in full in episode 153, taking him out of it. So yeah, now it's time for that main event. Now it's time for that transformation. And so far, I'll say this, you know, his posability, playability, everything is pretty great with the guy. It's, you know, it's easily at 8.5. It would be higher if the hip ratchets weren't so loose. Honestly, if the hip ratchets weren't loose, I would be giving this guy a strong 9.5, because about the only thing he'd be missing is, actually, you know what, let's change that. I'm going to give his posability, playability mark now about a 7.5. He would be getting a strong 8.5, because the knees and the elbows could bend a little bit more, and he doesn't have wrist articulation. But the hip ratchets drop it from that strong 8.5 down to about a 7.5, because he's just challenging to stand, and he knocks over so easily. I mean, as quick as that, as easy as that. You don't have to put any force. I didn't put any force or pressure there, really. I just touched the guy. So far, we have a 9.5 for his look. We have a 7.5 for his articulation. He's getting an 8.5. Let's see how his transformation affects things, because I can tell you now, it's going to affect him. It really is. So all of that being said, where exactly do we begin with this guy? I always like to do the easy stuff first, and again, this is one of those situations of there's not really anything easy about this guy, to be perfectly honest with you. He's just a bit of a pain. We'll lift up the whole back of the rhino head, We'll lift that kind of out of the way. We'll get these side pieces sort of out of the way for now. And we'll get all of this sort of out of the way for now. Because this guy's basically going to have his body explode in order to get to the mode he needs to be in. I guess we can straighten out his arm, open up the forearm, flip the fist back in and close it up. Do the same over here because these are going to become his front rhino legs. And I guess you can even angle those forward if you are so inclined. Eventually, I mean, he's going to be down like this, right? Also, I'll tell you now, this whole rear end section with his tail is all soft, rubbery plastic. It is a nightmare, to be honest with you. His ears are also soft, rubbery plastic. We bring up and out his entire kind of center mass of his body. We've got all of that opened up. We take his waist and I believe we turn it around. I think we turn it around. We're going to turn it around because you want to get the hind legs out front. So you turn the whole waist around. Hinge it out. There's a green hinge in here and that's what you're hinging it out on. Bring that all the way up over his thigh. Take this, hinge it out, bring it all the way up over his thigh. And now you kind of have the green hinges back here. Take his robot mode toes and bend them up and bend them up. And this is kind of the base that we're gonna get for Rhinox, kinda. That's sort of how he's gonna go. This whole soft rubbery plastic piece, you bring it down. There's a little tab up at the top of this piece. It's gonna go into a little hole by rights down here on his back section, I suppose. I don't think I have this done perfectly correctly yet. You really do need to kind of finagle a bunch of things here. That's not really fun to finagle. We'll get back to that. This piece that was down over his waist, you flip that up. You bring the head forward and you bring up the jaw. You angle in the shoulder. There's a hinge right here, a green hinge and a beige hinge. You angle it back. You angle it in kind of next to his jaw. And again, you can see how he is basically going to come together. This guy's a pain. He really is a pain. Okay, like I said, this guy's not fun to transform because there's a lot of, you know what it is? There's a lot of fiddly little stuff that's easy to forget. The front of him is fine. I mean, all you're doing is you're folding this up and pushing the shoulders in and whatever. That's fine. The back of him, that's where the pain comes in. This comes out, comes up over. And like I said, I know a lot of people are yelling at me. I turned his waist around, bend it in this way. Wrong. It can bend in that way, but that's the wrong way to do it because the thighs won't be high enough for these pieces to tab in right here in this section. So what you actually have to do is take this waist piece and fold it back and in under. Back and in under. And I'll lift his tail section up. So his whole waist piece folds up into the body basically. Man, this guy is not fun. Not fun to transform. We take this now and it should work for us now, I hope. Of course, we still need to tab it in. And that's hit or miss. We got one side in. We'll try and get the other one in here now. Stuff bangs into one another. It's... I see why it's done this way. I do, because you're trying to get this organic beast mode, but it takes the enjoyment away. Now we bring the soft rubber plastic piece down, and we'll try and put that in here. Now these two pieces, these actually just kind of tab in behind the legs here. And these, if that will stay together, top of the head comes up like, what a, nothing wants to stay tabbed in with this guy. This is a great Rhinox to have on your shelf. This is another one of those examples of, don't give this to kids. It's not fun. It's just, he's not fun. We're trying to squeeze everything together here as best as we can, and you see that everything just pops right back out, basically. So not fun. Okay, now we come to another challenging section, because everything with this guy is challenging. Now we have to store the weapons. They need to store a very certain way, and I'm not sure what that way is. We'll try it like this and see if the body comes down around or not. Maybe it has to go this way. Maybe it's this way that it goes stored, which is also very possible. Yeah, that's the way it needs to go stored. You need to store it with the pegs that he would hold of the gun facing up toward the front of the beast mode. Otherwise, it doesn't really fit. And after a lot of effort, boom, there you go, Rhinox in Rhino mode. And it's a great looking Rhino mode. He's a brick. The legs are just back, you know, his back legs are just back there. I guess you do have ankle tilt. These can turn left and right. If you bring the elbow of the robot mode down and actually turn the leg kind of out, or turn the leg kind of out this way, you can have him bend forward. If you turn it back this way, you can have that leg bend back if you want, but it kind of looks like his leg is broken. By rights, his elbow should be retracted and he should just stand straight on. The mouth, that does open and close, but if you open it, well, you can open it from this hinge here, but basically if you open it, you have the Rhinox robot mode head inside. Transformation for this guy, he's right up there with you know, the Generations Perceptor and that Universe Galvatron. He's pretty terrible. I'm giving his transformation a -8. I don't like it at all. It's too panely. The panels don't really fit in. There's a lot of intricate little moves that are easy to forget. Kids will not like this. Collectors, I gotta believe, don't fiddle with this guy back and forth at their desk. They put him either in Rhino mode, unlikely, or put him in his glorious robot mode. Overall, Rhinox is a 4, a 5. He looks great. He looks great in this mode. It's a nice Rhino mode. Even the hollow belly is filled in with his guns. It's a great looking Rhino mode. And not a whole lot of robot kibble sticking out. A little bit back here on the legs, a little bit of his forearms there, but not much robot kibble sticking out. He looks great in both modes, Rhino and robot. He is okay to play with, you know, he has good movement. It's just you're gonna have a challenge standing him up, and transforming him from one mode to the other is a nightmare. I still think this guy's the best Rhinox that we currently have, but you know what, folks? He is not going to be what? The figure that you have the most fun with. Thanks for dropping by and giving me some of your time. You know that I appreciate it, and I look forward to the next time you and I get together again for another visit right here inside the videos.